Hank McCoy.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us for the PHNX Suns pregame show brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'm Lindsay Smith here with Espo, Gerald Bourget, and Saul Bookman. And tonight the Suns will face off against the Boston Celtics. But before we get into that, we have so much to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Twitter was like literally nonstop all day. It felt like it
fun.
popped off.
We're at DEFCON 1, Saul. We got all sorts of rumors everywhere. Trades possible.
Yeah. So the first thing.
DEFCON 1 the least?
No, DEFCON 1 is the highest. Yes, DEFCON 5 is the least.
I don't know.
Don't ask me. I have no idea.
We went by colors in the military. So.
The news of the day is that Kyrie Irving wants out of Brooklyn. And this has the internet all chattering. And because beyond just Kyrie wanting out, especially for Suns Twitter and Suns fans, we got a note from Shams Charania that the Los Angeles Lakers, Phoenix Suns, and Dallas Mavericks have emerged as potential suitors for Brooklyn Nets All-Star starter Kyrie Irving, sources tell The Athletic. To which Chris B. Haynes quote tweeted and said, Phoenix is viewed as one of the few teams capable of facilitating a deal with Brooklyn that could keep both teams in championship pursuit. So
I'm going to say two things right off the bat.
Okay.
Number one, I know everybody's thinking that this is going to lead to a KD trade somehow, some way. I'm here to tell you there's no way. There's just no way.
Not before Thursday.
Not before Thursday. And if you're the Brooklyn Nets, why would you give up two franchise players, especially one of them? Again, the biggest thing with KD is he's still under contract for at least another 3 years. It's going to be very hard to get rid of him when you're trying to rebuild at this point if you got rid of Kyrie. The second thing I will say is I understand everybody has quite a bit of feelings about Kyrie. He's been a flake. He's been kind of non-existent from time to time. But what I will say is this. The way I think you should look at this is a short-term rental. Don't care about the long term. If you want to rent him for 3 or 4 months to try and win a championship, that's your best move, because it's more importantly not about what he's going to do for the Suns, but you do not want him to go to the Mavericks or the Lakers. That's my biggest thing right now. You do not want him to go to one of those two, because if he goes to the Lakers with LeBron, somebody who he's played with before, who kind of knows Kyrie on a more a deeper level, I just do not like that at all.
Yeah, I tweeted this. I feel so strongly that KD won't be traded by Thursday. I think it's more likely I'd be Lakers GM by Thursday than that happening. I think if the Suns trade for KD before Thursday, I will eat Saul's shoe on this show. And I say I will literally live eat his entire shoe.
So first of all, that will never happen because I will never let him eat my shoe.
You picked one of your crap you want.
You can have one of mine.
I will eat the
autographed
the
shoes on our
autographed
table.
shoe on the table. You can pick which one. I will go to town. That's how little I think that KD will be moved before Thursday, and in particular here. All right, I'll start there. I'm torn about Kyrie.
Okay.
And I think Suns fans in general probably feel this way based on what I've seen on Twitter. Kyrie, the player, is undeniable in his talent and his ability to have an impact on the court. Replacing CP3 with Kyrie makes you a title contender from on the court play. He's averaging 27, 5, and 5 this year. But Kyrie off the court is problematic. I've joked about willing to sell my soul for a championship and those things. And obviously
here
it's
it is.
tongue-in-cheek. But no, honestly, I'm very torn because this could mean a title here, but you also have to deal with things that have been said by Kyrie, the anti-Semitic things, other things that have happened. And are you okay with that representing your franchise and your city? And the answer for me is, I don't know how to feel about that right now. And I don't know that I want to be confronted with that as a reality and having to try to figure out how I feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know me very well. We've talked about this before in the past. Last summer when his name came up,
but it wasn't real then.
it was real because he wanted out then,
Yeah.
and now he wants out still. And I'm still saying the same shit I said last time. Basketball sense, it makes sense. If you could take advantage of the Nets as far as like they're kind of backed into a corner with this whole trade demand right before the trade deadline, if you can get away with expirings and a first-round pick, I understand why from a basketball sense you would do that. Kyrie is a phenomenal basketball player. But there's more involved to this than that, and it's not even just about the kind of moral qualms or whatever you want to call them that you have about what he has said and tweeted over the last few months, the anti-Semitic things that you referenced. You just look at the situations he's been in Boston, in Brooklyn now, and turmoil has followed him everywhere he's gone. It's been one headache after another, and as much as he gets along with his teammates, his actions inadvertently affect them for the worst. I don't want somebody that tells a crowd full of Celtics fans, I'm going to re-sign here in a year and then bounces. I don't want somebody that forms a super team in Brooklyn, drives out one of the stars last year, and now things are so bad that he wants out this year. I don't want anything to do with him in free agency this summer either, because that's a massive amount of money you're going to pay a guy who is going to be a head case. I don't want anything to do with that. And I understand why people are going to disagree with that and want Kyrie just for his basketball talent alone. I get it. I would have a real hard time reckoning with that, like Espo was saying.
I think and I agree with you. I do not, and I will not, and I don't think I will ever be on board with Kyrie being on any team, especially our own, for more than a year, because I feel like he definitely knows how to burn the house down. In this situation, we're talking about if a trade were to be made, we're talking about the rest of February, March, April, you're in the playoffs, you're done by June, 5 months. And then you could decide at that time if you want to make a gamble. For myself, I would not, because we have seen the longer he stays somewhere, the more cancerous he is. I think a 5-month window to try and get yourself a championship and move on. What do you miss out? You might have cut Chris Paul next year anyway and just taken the bullet on $15 million. In this case, you actually save that money in the long run. You let Kyrie walk out the door, and maybe you have a title to show for it. I'm okay with that.
If you're going to make that kind of move, I still want somebody that you're actually going to consider keeping. Is that lottery ticket that you're trying to take there worth the potential headaches, worth the moral qualm that you're putting yourself in right after you've supposedly freed yourself of a big moral qualm in your ownership? Like, I don't think it's worth it. I mean, I may feel differently if they pull the trade and it's like, here we are, okay, but I just don't know. Gerald's point about the locker room, I mean, chemistry is such a delicate thing. Even though they've gone through it this year, there still seems to be chemistry in that locker room. Does this completely burn it down at that point? Because you've now traded one of your leaders in Chris Paul, replaced him with a guy like Kyrie. Is it enough to get you to win on the pure talent on the court if the chemistry becomes questionable? I don't know that it makes you better. There may be, you can't stand pat. We've talked about that. But is this the deal that really puts you into championship contention? I don't know. I don't feel like it.
Do you really feel like it would be that toxic? We're 5 months in. If you're on a deep playoff run, that it would be so toxic that it would implode from within?
I don't think so, because I think one of the things that we've learned about Chris Paul is his influence on Devin Booker, and I think Devin Booker is the stability of this franchise right now. And I think Devin Booker, listen, Devin Booker is not drama. He is not a drama queen. He's not on Twitter tweeting out his feelings all the time. He's not on there talking shit to people.
No, but Kyrie is.
I know, but what I'm saying is Devin Booker is that calming force that I think can push this team past what other bullshit Kyrie might bring up in a 5-month window. And like I do believe that Kyrie in this I'm only talking about this short window. That's all I'm talking about. I know people are like, well, I want somebody here for the long term. Well, you're not going to be able to trade for somebody that's that big here for the long term unless you wait till the offseason for KD. And that's only if Kyrie does get traded somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, my qualm is if you're trading for Kyrie, I don't want to see any of the starting 5 involved. I would rather it be expirings and a pick. If you do that, I understand why from a basketball sense, but I will say there is a significant portion of the fan base that will feel the same way I feel as far as being conflicted in juxtaposing their feelings about how cool this team could be with Kyrie on it from a basketball sense versus the very real problematic things that he said and done in the past that he would bring with him here, especially after a period of turmoil. Well, for the last year, it's been nothing but drama. It's been nothing but horrific things that we've read and heard about Robert Sarver, and we're finally starting to give the fan base, the organization, being able to move past that toxicity, and now we're bringing in a guy that is going to, for better, like he just stirs up shit wherever he goes. And I'm not saying it's anywhere near the same level as a Robert Sarver in terms of the controversies and that kind of thing, but he attracts negative headlines. He is a guy that you thought the last year was dramatic. Wait till we get Kyrie here. I don't want any part of it personally. And I understand people are going to disagree with that just because he's really good at basketball, but I don't think he's the caliber of superstar that pushes you for sure over the top as far as competing for a title.
Well, and Kevin Durant couldn't help control him. Danny Ainge and the Celtics, great organization, couldn't quell the drama. Even LeBron, to an extent, they won a title, but there was still drama there at times. Like, I love Devin. I think Devin is a superstar. Devin's also younger than Kyrie. I don't know that Devin controls that. But then there's this part of me that goes, but think about what it could look like on the court. Mm-hmm. And that part of you know, it's like the devil and the angel on the shoulders. You got both sides here. And I don't feel any envy for James Jones having to try to figure this out, because I know ownership's going to want to make a splash here before the deadline. That obviously is splashy, but man, that's a tough one. I can't figure it out.
I'm with David in the chat. And David said, I hope the Kyrie drama triggers a Nets blow up, giving the Suns another shot at trading for KD. That's our best case scenario. Forget Kyrie. Mm-hmm. Saul, I know that you literally started the show with if you think that you're crazy, but I would wonder if maybe the Nets, when they figure out all their options, just decide this is an opportunity for a clean slate. Maybe this is our chance to get as much back as we can for these two players, whether that's young stars, the likes of like Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. I'm not saying them specifically, but players like that, and a boatload of draft picks, and start over fresh. Maybe that's an option that they at least consider. Sure. And if that's the case, KD to the Suns round 2?
Yeah.
Anybody?
But okay. So here's the problem with the KD thing. If you trade KD, you're not going to be able to get away with trading for KD without giving up some valuable assets.
Yeah.
I don't even think DeAndre Ayton by himself would do the trick. I think you're looking at a package where you're going to have to give up Mikal or Cam as well.
And all your picks.
And then you're sitting here talking about not only you added KD, and he's going to make up for some of that lost ground, but there's going to be a chemistry issue for a little bit, and they're going to have to figure that part out. You got to move some pieces around, so it depends on what else you would get back in a KD trade. And you're talking about a team that's battling right now to stay in the playoff picture. And, you know, is that worth it right now? That's why the offseason would have been ideal, because then you have all this time to be able to pull in pieces and make things work. Trying to do that on the fly with 30 games left in the years is pretty tough.
You're right. And this situation isn't going to deteriorate fast enough for Kyrie pushing his way out, for KD to suddenly push his way out before Thursday. I just don't see it happening before the deadline. But if it opens the door in the offseason, absolutely. That would be the ideal kind of after effect of what's going on right now. And I don't think it's something we should rule out. But as far as Thursday, the percentage chance is less than 1% that happens.
No, and I think if KD goes, it's along with Kyrie. Somebody would have to give them the Godfather offer. Here's everything you could ever dream of for these two guys, and impress the Nets so much that they're like, yes, we'll blow all this up. I don't see that happening.
So in your scenario, and I know there's I know there's an ethical conundrum here with Kyrie. Let's just take that off the table for a second, just here. If you were able to trade a bunch of expirings and some first round picks just for a 5-month rental of Kyrie, would that be worth it to you guys?
I'm not trading more than one first round pick. One first round pick's where I draw the line. And for the salary, it'd have to be Dario, Landry, Torrey Craig, and Jay, and a first rounder.
Yeah, I mean, the Nets don't have a lot of bargaining power here. Let's be frank.
Yeah,
I mean, but the Lakers are going to go 2 picks, I bet, just because LeBron's going to throw a hissy fit here, I think. And so I don't know, man. And again, it's can you separate the art from the artist kind of thing? And I don't know.
It's different. It's a different answer for everyone, and however you weigh in on that is fine. But I personally would not. We've spent the last week brainstorming other outside trade targets, and I know Campos probably shot most of them down by now. But I would rather pursue other deals elsewhere and not have to deal with that potential headache, and not have to deal with giving up a first for a guy who might be gone over the summer. I'd rather look elsewhere. And I know a lot of people in the chat are saying, okay, well, what if he goes to the Mavs? Or what if he goes to the Lakers? I don't give a shit. The Lakers, Anthony Davis still has to be healthy enough for them to do anything with that. And the Mavs, I don't Luka and Kyrie does not scare me as a championship contender.
But what I say to that is you better have a counter move.
Right, exactly. If pursue other things.
Kyrie isn't your guy, you better have a counter move that you're making. Otherwise, if he goes to the West, which the Nets will likely deal in the West, somebody just got likely just as good as you, if not better, in a crowded West. So what's your counter move, James Jones? And that's the biggest question here. Is there another move? Is there a name? Because James Jones on Arizona Sports the other day said interesting names may become available. No name other than is more interesting than Kyrie Irving for multiple reasons. The definition of interesting, right? So I don't. Again, you know me. I'm rarely, if ever, flustered at a thought or taking an opinion, and I don't know here.
Yeah, and I do think it's fair to feel that way, but to your point, that was always the way that this trade deadline needed to be approached. You need to make a move to vault yourself past this kind of middle section of the Western Conference that everyone is trapped in right now.
Thankfully, this won't last as long as the KD thing in theory, because the trade deadline is next week. So it's very quickly approaching.
The KD thing is going to come right back right after the trade deadline. If he's not traded and Kyrie does get traded, then it's never going to stop.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. Listen, we are going to revisit this, bring some actual trade scenarios for you guys in the post-game show, but we only have 10 minutes before tip-off. So we do have a few things we need to talk about as far as this game goes, but come back after the game wraps up for the post-game show. We'll dive even deeper into this, and like I said, bring a few more elements to the show to chat with you guys about it. But we do have Suns versus Celtics tonight.
Yes.
As far as the injury report is looking, on the Suns side of things, Devin Booker, Campaign, Landry Shamet all remain out. Cam Johnson was added to this list just a few hours ago from the Suns. He is also out tonight with that right knee injury management, likely because it is a back-to-back for the Suns, and this is the game the Suns chose to have him sit out. However, you could potentially read into this a little bit based on the limited minutes we saw him play the other night. On the Celtics side of things, Danilo Gallinari is out as well. Are you guys concerned at all from the or Cam Johnson perspective?
A little bit based on what we heard from him the other night. It did sound like they pushed him too hard, too fast when he came back, and now he's feeling the after effects of that. But I think the plan was always to try to manage his minutes and for back-to-backs have him sit out at least, or sit out one of the 2 games. It does make sense to bring him in on the second night of the back-to-back as reinforcements against the Pistons team that they should be able to beat versus a Celtics team that, let's be honest, even with Cam Johnson, that's an uphill battle tonight. So I'm a little bit concerned, but I do think it could just be the back-to-back.
Just so you guys are aware, in the next contract, I'm getting it in there where I only have to work one of the 2 back-to-backs. So.
You and I can trade.
Yeah,
You'll
we'll
do the first one, I'll do the second one.
Look, am I concerned? No. Am I frustrated? Yes. I mean, if you're back, I wish you were fully back, but I also get being cautious on both sides. Suns don't want him to be injured for the playoffs. Cam doesn't want to re-injure himself going into free agency, so I understand it logically.
Yeah.
God, I don't know what to say right now because I just am so I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, like guy, we just need you out on the court. And I get that it's probably the team's decision to hold him out, but I'm just like, I'm just so fucking over the injuries, man. I really am.
Yeah. Same. Hopefully everything gets worked out sooner rather than later, and there are no minutes restrictions on anybody once Book comes back too.
But that's the
things
thing.
Will be a little bit easier.
But that's the thing is, like, I just know when we get to the playoffs, like that shit's just going to magically go away because it's the playoffs. Well, fuck, right now I feel like we're kind of in the playoffs because we're battling for fucking playoff position. We're battling for our staying out of play-in lives. Like,
yeah, but you
suit up.
If you get into the playoffs by injuring one of your players, then it's irrelevant either way because now you're down a player in the playoffs when it matters the most.
You act like we played in the playoffs without injury before.
I'm not saying that we haven't, but I'm saying if Cam Johnson goes down where he cannot play in the playoffs, would you have rather overworked him right now in this 2 to 3 week period? Or would you have rather taken it easy, maybe fall back a few steps and have him fully healthy in the playoffs?
I don't know. I just feel like there's no way to predict any of that. Not with Cam Johnson.
No, there's not, but you can make educated guesses. And
Cam Johnson literally got injured on
a
non-contact injury with his groin, at the beginning of the season. Like, it's just such a fluky thing with him sometimes that you just don't. I'm sorry, it was his knee. It was the non-contact with his knee. And I'm like, all right, well, fuck. We can sit there and hold him out and keep it in a glass case. And then game 1 of the playoffs, guess what? He could get injured and that'd be it. Like, so we saved him for this whole season for nothing. So I'm like, if he's healthy, let him play. If he's not, then sit him out.
I'm going to trust the science and the trainers on this one.
Because they've done such a bang-up job to this point with 4 guys on the injury report. Dude's injured all season long.
Yeah, but you can't predict when an injury is going to happen when a guy's not injured. But when he's coming back from an injury, there's science behind it that you can try to look at and prevent a reoccurrence of an injury or a secondary injury happening because you're coming back and working.
Here's my question for you then. If we were in the playoffs right now, do you think they would sit him for any of these games?
No, but they'd also have more time in between games.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a back-to-back.
And I think they're taking it with the long view in mind. There's still 2 months of the season.
And we're also
left.
not in the playoffs, so it's irrelevant. It's apples to oranges at that point.
No, I'm just asking the question.
There's still 2.5 months left.
If we're playing hypotheticals about injuries, then why not play hypotheticals about when we were in the playoffs and if he would get injured or if he would be held out or any of that stuff? Like, why not?
We're not playing hypotheticals. There's science behind it. There's injury science about when a guy's hurt and if he works too hard that it leads to additional injuries.
But what I'm saying is with Cam Johnson, that science is kind of bullshit because he gets injured regardless.
That doesn't mean that you can play fast and loose with an actual injury, though.
But so if he's actually injured, then sit him out.
Fast and loose as far as coming back from an injury. You know he was injured. You know he's on his way back. You're taking precautions, as you should, to help him get back to playing shape.
How long does it take to come back from injury then once you start coming back?
It goes back to the science.
It's
3, different
4
for
weeks?
every single player.
Like, are we going to do this all the way to the end of the season?
How is he favoring a leg? What's the level of stress that they're monitoring that they notice? There are things in this. This isn't the 1980s NBA where it's like throw an ice pack on it and nut up, get out there. Like, this is actual tracking data. There's things that see how far he runs.
I don't think the phrase "nut up" was used until 2000. But okay.
Well, anyway,
the sentiment remains the same.
Hey, you could get in a car accident tomorrow, regardless of how you're driving. So you're going to drive 100 miles an hour just because right now?
Just fucking let it ride, baby.
Yeah, that's a hard no. Anyway, we've got 4 minutes now before the game starts. So who you guys got and by how much?
Oh, shit, really?
Yes.
I've got the Celtics by 8.
I have them by 9.
By 10.
By 6.
Oh, Espo, if you only took 7. What a world to live in. What do our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook app think about tonight's game?
The Celtics by 9. They didn't say 7 either. So.
Yeah, this one looks a little rough for the Suns. Hopefully they can stay in it. It would be great if they were able to pull off a W tonight, but at the very least, a engaging, entertaining game where the Suns are at least within striking distance. I will settle for.
If the Suns win tonight against Celtics, I want that headline to be "nut up."
Oh boy.
Well, Hello said it right. If it was the 80s, it was Coke Up. That's correct.
Facts.
What are you guys putting your money on the DraftKings Sportsbook app for tonight?
I got the Celtics money line. DeAndre Ayton scoring over 18.5 points. Mikal Bridges over 15.5 points because there's nobody else out there to score any fucking points. And Chris Paul over 8.5 assists. They'll all be going to DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges. Let's fucking go.
Okay.
I went simple here. Chris Paul, that's supposed to be over 3.5.
Oh, it says under.
Okay.
Because in 4 of his last 5 games, he's had 4 more rebounds. So
Okay.
Oh,
it was supposed
it's
to be
under.
over.
It's under.
Whatever.
I
have to double check the odds on this
you
one.
change it, Espo. It is what it is. I have Mikal Bridges over 18.5 points at a -105. Going back to slow and steady wins the race. If you guys want to get in on the action before this game tips off, or just in general to make your basketball viewing even more entertaining, for a limited time, all new and existing customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, opt in, and place a same-game parlay on any NBA game. And if it doesn't hit, you'll get a free bet back. If you have not already, make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, but use that code PHNX, because when you use that code, new customers can bet $5 on the NBA and get $200 in free bets instantly, only at DraftKings Sportsbook with the code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void in Ohio. See show notes for details. We're going to go ahead and push the snub section of this to post-game show. We'll talk about Devin Booker and the All-Star selections there as well. So jam-packed post-game show. Again, come back and join us after this game wraps up
3 hours
to talk
long.
about all of that kind of stuff. But I will say, just what is your guys' biggest key for tonight's game, or what are your expectations besides Suns?
That's the biggest key.
But the key to this game is that in the post game, we don't have to wait for Gerald anymore. So that's cool. He's here.
Yeah, it's me that we're waiting for. The Celtics having an off shooting night, that would help. Otherwise, this is like, what the fuck? What am I supposed to say?
A horseshoe shoved straight
I
up
don't
the
know. I was
ass.
just looking for
Right.
something
No,
a
it's a
little
tough-
bit.
Maybe
That's a
power
tough
going
one.
out midway through the third.
That's a tough one. Celtics are the best team in the NBA right now. It's rough.
Trading for Kyrie middle of the
Stop
game
it.
and him playing. I
Oh my-
don't know. Like,
I don't know what's going to happen to my man Gerald if they do actually pull off a trade for Kyrie. He might not show up for the rest of the
I
season.
will not be a happy camper.
Jock Landale
Flat-
needs 40 tonight to get the win.
Flat girthers suddenly takes on a horrible new meaning.
I might go to that first press conference just so I could take a picture of Gerald having to ask Kyrie a question.
Oh boy, that'll be fun.
First of all, first question, sir, how dare you?
Gerald and I are going to have to switch. I'm going to have to be the beat reporter.
Oh man,
I appreciate Jose in the chat. At least he took my question seriously. He said, defense, take care of the ball. Thank you, Jose. I appreciate you. You guys are fun, though. I do enjoy y'all being here.
I think the Suns could have 0 turnovers and still lose this game.
Oh, Jesus. Shit.
Well, we
They're
shall
still an
see.
NBA
Thank
team.
you all for joining us for the pregame show. Again, as I said 1,800 times already, join us for the postgame show after the game wraps up. Bye.
Hey yo, my lifestyle is retro. Tell the Phoenix Metro. Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though. Lindsey, Gerald, Espo. Saw past the ball, we hit it.